Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Black Parents Aging. This is Olivia Smith here with another episode. I do not have Nicola here, but what I do have for you is a very special guest that I know that you're going to enjoy. I have Barbara Scurry here today. Welcome, Barbara.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Now, Barbara and I have been on a couple of panels previously, and she has a very unique company and job that serves seniors. And so I'm going to let you tell a little bit about that, and then we can just kind of jump in the conversation from there.
Awesome. Sounds good. So, yeah, what I do, most people have no idea that it's a thing. So, the way that I like to describe it is we are senior inbox managers. So, if you think about your inbox at home, where you put your mail and your bills and the things that need to be taken care of on a weekly or monthly basis, we go into seniors' homes and we manage that for them. So I usually like to ask people when I do presentations, I'll say, hey, how many of you guys like opening your mail and paying your bills and making phone calls to vendors and finding out like, what is this bogus charge on my credit card? Like, how many of you guys like to do that? Nobody raises their hand, right? Like maybe I'll get one weirdo person that will, but for the most part, nobody likes to do that. And the group that I'm usually talking to are relatively young people. So I say, think about a senior citizen then that maybe has macular degeneration and they can't see their mail, or they have hearing problems and they can't hear to like make a phone call and talk to like, and punch all the buttons that you need to do to get to a live person on the phone. Or if they have, say, Parkinson's and they have tremors and it's hard for them to like write their checks and sign their names. So that's where a service like ours comes into play. And what it's really called is daily money management.
Mhm.
So we go into seniors' homes, we open and sort their mail, we make sure their bills are being paid, we can make those phone calls on their behalf, we can get them financially organized so we can find important paperwork when we need it later. If there's something that we can't do, then we're a really good referral source to other things that they may need. So that's in a nutshell what daily money management is. And then we also offer professional fiduciary services. So if we need to step in as like a power of attorney or like a trustee, we're able to do that as well. And then we also have a notary on staff as well.
So I will confess that I did not know that you or a company like yours existed until we landed on a panel together. And I thought that
Yeah.
was really, really interesting and a need in the senior community. Is you named a lot of instances where it would be needed, but I think of my clients and a lot of them as they are diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, and they start forgetting and losing things and putting things away and not being able to find where they did with the bills, and they start to get behind. A service like yours is invaluable. I want to go back a little bit though, and I want to ask, how did you arrive here? Because I'm sure most of our listeners have not heard of this. I certainly had not heard of this, and I serve seniors. So can you give us a little background? Like, how did you arrive in this place?
Sure. So going way, way back, like I just was somebody who like always was really good at just keeping up with like being organized with my finances, just on a personal level.
Sure.
Back in the day, I did my own taxes. I did, like the taxes for our household. And I remember like actually teaching women who were trying to get off of welfare and into the workforce, like how to do basic budgeting. So it's just that was kind of something in the back of my mind that was just kind of always, it was just something I was always really good at organizing things and just kind of being like the calm in the middle of the storm. Like I say, I can organize chaos. Like, so
Love
then
that.
when I went to school, I have a marketing degree. And when I got out in my corporate life, before I started my company, I did marketing for um, a lighting control company, like a manufacturer. And I worked for a company that did splints and diabetic shoes for seniors. That was kind of when I first fell in love with working with seniors. And then I went into the financial services industry. So I worked with small to medium-sized businesses, helping them to finance leases, like lease
Mhm.
finances for their equipment. And then I went back and worked in the senior community. So I worked at a continuing care retirement community here in the Atlanta area. And I was sort of like this Jacqueline of all trades. I kind of did a little bit of everything there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think that really inspired me to do what I'm doing now is I would go with the independent living community, people would go out to the hospital. I would go out there, and the idea was just to say, hey, come back to our community. We've got a skilled nursing here. We can take care of you. We miss you. But what I found is that when I would go out there, the senior or their adult child had no clue, like
Sure.
what the next steps were, what their options were. Of course, the senior always wants to go home, and that's not
Yes.
always the case. And they think Medicare is going to pay for everything. And we know that's not the case.
Hmm.
So I found that I was having to kind of educate them, like, no, these are your options, and this is how you're going to pay for it. And do you have long-term care insurance, or are you a veteran? Are there any other benefits we can pull from? And
Yeah.
then I would be working with the hospital discharge planner or the social worker to figure out, like, what can we do to make these people happy. And then I would come back and I'd say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And so many times the senior or their adult child would just be like, oh my gosh, Barb, thank you so much. Like, you lifted this huge burden off of our shoulders. You really helped us. Like, thank you so much. And I always say, it just warmed the cockles of my heart that I really helped somebody. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I really helped somebody. I really made a difference. And I thought, how could I get that feeling in my day every day? And that was sort of like where this was kind of born out of, because then when I got laid off from that, and I was talking to a networking colleague of mine, and I was like, what am I going to do when I grow up? I know I like doing this and this, but I don't like doing that. And she was the one that brought this idea to me. She said, I met somebody that helps people with their bills and helps seniors do this. And I said, really? That's a thing?
Right. Right.
She was like,
Right.
yeah. She's like, I don't know what it's called, but we talked about it. And at the end of our call, she said, daily money management. I think that's it. Look that up. And so when I went and looked it up, lo and behold, I found that there's a whole organization. There's an actual national organization. It's called the Association of Daily Money Managers that
Wow.
exists. And I joined that organization, and they have like classes and CEUs. And then I joined, we had a local chapter here in the Atlanta area. And then once a year, they do a big conference in different places all across the country. So yeah, I joined that. So there's people like me
All
all
over the
across the
place.
country, yeah, that do
Yes.
it. And sometimes they specialize in different things. So, I specialize in working with seniors, but some specialize in working with newly divorced people, high net worth individuals or families, disabilities. I mean, you name it. They're business owners. So yeah, but that's kind of how. So I feel like I brought like all of my past experience just kind of came together, and here we are. And so it's been I'm just over 12 years old now
Oh,
since I
wow.
started the business. Yeah.
That is amazing. And it's so funny that, like, I'm sure yours is not the only profession. There's all these professions going on out here that we don't even know about until
Yeah.
we need them, or until, and then I guess we stumble upon them when we need them.
Hmm.
So I
Yes.
can imagine a client of mine that I would refer to you, or a listener would want to know, okay, well, Barbara sounds nice. She sounds lovely. But why would I, and how do I know if I could or should trust her with my, or anyone that does daily money management with my aging parent or grandparent, to kind of come in and do the day to day, because you do have access to sensitive information doing that. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
how are people to vet you and vet someone that does what you do, to feel comfortable with having you in that role?
So, well, obviously, I guess the most obviously talking to me. I do a free consultation for everybody that is interested in services. Um, I do provide references from
Okay.
previous clients and or their family members There's testimonials on my website as well. I do also have what's called E&O insurance. It's errors and omissions insurance. It's basically like my malpractice insurance.
Mhm.
So if I make a mistake, or say like I don't pay a bill that I'm supposed to pay, and say it makes somebody's insurance on their house lapse, and then their
Right.
house burns down, like I would be liable for that. So I always provide proof of my insurance. Also, I do carry a fidelity bond that covers employee theft. So I always provide proof of that. So there is a service agreement that all
Wow.
of my clients have to sign. So, and it outlines what I'm responsible for, what they're responsible for, like what the price is, what the hourly rate is, and what the charges are going to be. There's also a form that says that I'm allowed to make phone calls on their behalf, and under
Sure.
what circumstances, and that sort of thing, who I can actually talk to and share information with. So I provide those things. Plus, the daily money managers that are on my staff have been background checks. So they do national, local, state background screenings for all of them, and we check their references and their education. So I think that kind of helps people.
Absolutely. Now that sounds like a lot. Always when there is like some sort of insurance, okay, if anything goes wrong, at least there is some sort of something
Recourse
to
for
fall
them.
back on. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So who what are the signs that a loved one it may be time for them to call you?
Oh, wow. So what I find is that, the senior themselves never thinks anything's wrong, right?
Of course.
The world could be falling down around them. They're like, I'm fine. That meme where the dog is in the room that's burning down, I'm fine. So what I find is that it's usually those people that are around the senior that will notice these things.
Yes.
Their family, their, an attorney, a financial advisor. Usually it's mail is starting to pile up, especially if it's somebody that usually used to stay on top of things. And now the mail is piling up. Bills are not being paid. Maybe utilities are being shut off. Maybe a house is going into foreclosure or something. And that they have the money, but it's just these things aren't getting done. That's probably one of the main things. I get people that'll tell me, like bank tellers will come in, they'll tell me, well, yeah, somebody comes in and they're asking questions about their statements because they're not understanding stuff. That's somebody who might, and those people aren't there to do that. So somebody like me could come in and help.
Right.
Even with attorneys, like I can help clients gather documents and stuff when they're doing their estate planning. And if they're taking a long time to do that, I've helped a lot of clients, like when they're doing Medicaid planning. And sometimes we've got people on staff that can help do some of that that accounting, the forensic accounting. Sometimes it needs to be done when money was being mixed around and whatnot. So we can help with stuff like that. So let me say too, like a good way. So these are the types of clients we generally serve. A solo ager or an elder orphan, where maybe they never had kids, they never got married, there's just nobody there. Or maybe their family lives 3-4 states away and they
Yeah.
just can't be here. Or maybe their family lives here, but they just don't have the time. They're part of that sandwich generation. They
Yes.
still have kids at home. Maybe they still have young kids in college. They still work a full-time job. When are they going to have the time to take on their parents' financial situation? Or I always say, what if their kids aren't good at it? You don't want to turn that over to somebody who's not doesn't stay on top of their own stuff. Now you want to
Yes.
have them take, that could be a complete nightmare. Or again, if they're the adult child has a drinking problem or drugs or some like that, can be kind of scary. And then also like a recent widow or widower, where the spouse that died was the one that took care of everything, and then the
Yeah.
one that's left just doesn't have a clue because they never had to do it. Those are the types of clients that we work the most with.
Now, so say that we notice this about our aging loved one and we say, okay, we need to get Barbara involved. And maybe, we have a power of attorney or something, but our aging loved one isn't, they still have capacity. They are not incapacitated. How are you able to work with the aging loved one, and how do you navigate working with an aging loved one who may be less than excited to see you?
Yeah, everybody's different.
Okay.
Everybody's so different. It's really hard because it's really hard if you can't force me on anybody, no matter how everybody thinks, oh, this is going to be great. If the senior does not have the buy-in, it's really difficult to work with that person. The best that I can do is, I always tell people, I am not here to come in and take over. I do not come in and tell everybody, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do this, this, and this, and I'm taking over. That is not how I operate at all. And I think that helps, because I will adapt to whatever their system is, whatever their process is, no matter how inefficient it may be. I will do what they are doing, because they have to be comfortable with me.
Sure.
And so what usually happens is, because I don't know, some people have called me the senior whisperer. I don't know, like, I'm just really with seniors. And so what happens is, they see that I'm not trying to force them to do things my way. I'm not here to take over. I'm here to help them and work with them. And then they get used to me. We build that relationship. And usually 9 times out of 10, then it gets to be like, oh yeah, Barb, so you just do whatever. And then they don't care. They're not they're not there with me. They just let me go and do my thing. And then, I can do what I need to do, or change things to be more efficient, whatever. Because I still have clients that, they do checks because they're not comfortable with doing online stuff. But eventually I can kind of get them there. But you just can't force it. So I think that's the main thing, because so many times just me coming in once or twice a month can help a senior be more independent, like, or at least stay in their house a little bit longer, because they always want to stay in their house. And so I think it's just building that relationship, being patient, just letting them know I'm here to help. And sometimes you have to kind of tell them, like, I have a recent client that just signed on. And at first she was very hesitant. She was like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. Really, her husband had been doing all of the things. And then he ended up going out to the hospital and whatnot. And she really wasn't doing it, but in her mind she could, because her mother did it. But her mother had a whole bunch of family around back in the day.
Yeah.
Her kids live in a completely different state. And she's relying on people that, like, really was like, we really shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
So eventually, I kind of had to ask her, well, if you don't find somebody to help you, what's going to happen? Like, what happens when your utilities shut off? And that happened. And it finally, like, she was finally like, oh gosh, I get it. I do need her. So, sometimes you have to ask them, if you don't take care of this issue, what's going to happen? How are you going to handle it? And you kind of have to throw it back on them. And then they kind of realize, oh, maybe I do need this help,
I also wanted to ask you, because I know that seniors are a vulnerable population for fraud.
Yes.
And fraud being, a part of elder abuse, really. People calling and telling them they need to send them money, or, whatever the case may be. Do you see that? And how do you deal in those instances?
Yes, I see it a lot. So again, part of that is me always constantly training them. Do not give your information out to anybody. It doesn't, even if it sounds like you think you know them, don't give out any information, to hang up and call the company directly. If you think, just to verify, because I've had clients say, somebody called them saying, oh, if you don't pay this bill, your electricity is going to be shut off. Hang up, call the electricity company directly. I've had one of my biggest, I did a presentation on this recently. I had a client where her caregivers were the ones that were exploiting her. And because I was able to be in there and I was starting to look at bank statements and credit card statements, I was able to find these things. And I got back quite a bit of money that they had gotten out of her account. I was able to get it back and get bogus charges taken off of her credit card. So again, it's just about being that extra set of eyes that can go in there and see and look and make the phone calls to make those charges be reversed and to fight those types of things. Yeah.
Now, have you ever, because I mean, what we see here, oftentimes too is, we always think of like the stranger, just like you mentioned, it's the caregiver. Oftentimes it's the family, the kids, yes, the grandkids. So when you uncover it, for instance, I know because your authority is someone has voluntarily given you the authority, they can take it away. Are you a mandatory reporter? Do you report them to the police? Like, how does that get worked out? Because I know oftentimes when that happens, for instance, the senior will come into the office and we'll have the conversation, but grandma is not going to prosecute her grandchild. So it makes it a really like delicate situation because they'll just say, just leave it alone or it's fine.
Yep.
How are you able to navigate those spaces?
I've had one situation where the senior said that her son and daughter-in-law had stolen money from her, and we were able to actually work it out with the attorney, and they paid the money back. But in the end, that probably wasn't, again, there was probably a big, gigantic misunderstanding. The other time, like I said, I was able to get the money back, and
great.
It's a weird situation because when I've tried to call the police about it, it's like they don't really care because she got the money back, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like a gigantic amount of money. I mean, the one lady, it was over $17,000. Well, for some people, that's a lot of money.
That's not nothing.
Right. It's not nothing. Exactly.
For sure.
But then there's stories in the Atlanta area where people have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
True.
And so I think that, and I think we've been on a panel, or I don't know if you've heard, I did one where one of the attorneys had said, he went to the prosecutor and he's like, why won't you prosecute these? And it's like, the prosecutor was like, look, there's a stack of, rapes here, and there's a stack of, burglaries here. And it's really difficult. Yes. And, and with the presentation that I do, I talk about how supposedly, like back in 2015, MetLife did this study and they said it was like $36.5 billion is what was lost from financial abuse from seniors. But I always say, we don't really know what that number is, because they said for every one case that's reported, it's like 24 are not. And they said like 34% of it is done from family.
Yes.
But it could be way more than that, because again, they're not going to report it. Like you said, they don't want to prosecute their grandson or their nephew or whatever. So it's really hard. That's why I feel like if we can educate people on what the signs are for financial abuse, what to look out for, just to tell them, if something seems weird, it doesn't seem right, just hang up the phone and call directly. Like even somebody tried to scam me from my own bank. I got text messages saying, did you set up this Zelle transfer? It's like $2,500 to somebody. And I was like, no. And then they called me and they were like, oh, well, we have to do this and that and the other. And I was like, I don't even have Zelle. How could this be? And they were like, well, they broke into your mobile app. And I was like, again, I was like, this is not making sense. And then they were like, well, we're going to transfer you to the FDIC agent. And I'm like, what?
What is happening?
I was like, and then, you've got AI now where they can record your voice and make it sound like you to somebody else. So I hung up the phone, because again, the whole time my spidey senses were going off, right? I hung up the phone. I called my bank directly and they were like, no, you don't have Zelle. Nobody can break in and send Zelle. And nobody talks to the FDIC people. They're like, we don't even know those people. We can't even talk to them. They're not going to talk to you. So now I know if somebody calls you and says, you're going to talk to the FDIC people,
Sorry.
you're okay.
I'm a pause. No, that happens a lot. I think it happens a lot more than we even realize. I think a lot of times as seniors, as people age, their money becomes our money. And people use it, and you wouldn't necessarily, it's not necessarily, you wouldn't group it as stealing, but they're definitely using their aging loved ones' money to their benefit more than they should be. I think that goes on a lot.
Yeah. And sometimes once you shine a light on it, it will stop. So we had somebody that hired us because, again, there was all these people in this family that were using this credit card to buy stuff, but then, and the senior, she's a very old, frail little lady. And somebody was out buying like thousands of dollars of groceries. That's like, this lady is not.
She is not eating this food.
No. And then like they were buying like tennis shoes. I mean, just all this stuff. So we got hired to go in and start looking at all this stuff and kind of like create like financial statements. And then once it was like, oh, somebody's looking at that, like the spending just stopped immediately, you know? So sometimes that can help when it's confronted, kind of, you know, brought up.
Well,
but yeah,
I will say for sure, a lot of our listeners are like me and my law partner, Nicola, the co-host. We're in the sandwich generation. So, you know, our parents or grandparents are aging. They still may be very independent, but you start to notice things about them that says, oh gosh, they're aging. And you want them to still have their autonomy, but you're trying to help as well, but you're really busy. The scenario that you pointed out earlier. And so having a service like yours. So do you go in home? Is it Zoom? Like, how does it practically work when someone hires you?
So for senior partners, that's my company name, senior partners, we like needy clients. We like to get our hands dirty. We got to go there. We got to be with them and see them, touch and feel them, because once you're there, you also see a lot of other things. That's why, you know, my tagline is life and money matters, because we end up getting involved with a lot of other things that's not just about bill paying and stuff, because you start to see, oh, they may need this, and oh, this is an issue here that somebody needs to address. So I'm sorry, what was the question?
How does it work practically?
Oh yeah. So yeah, we go to the clients for, again, but there are other daily money managers that don't. I have other colleagues, they work from their office, and they work with clients all over the country, even all over the world.
Oh, wow.
And they never even meet their clients. So it really just depends on what kind of services you want. So again, for me, I feel like with a senior, you really you have to be there with them, you know, to open up the mail and take, you know, look at things. And again, it helps to really build that relationship as well. So yeah, I'm generally seeing clients either once a week, twice a month, or once a month. It just really kind of depends on what is going on with them. I tell them oftentimes, especially if I get involved and there's chaos going on, I may need to see them weekly till we get to the point where it's like, okay, now we're good to just twice a month. We're good twice a month. And generally most clients see me twice a month. I do have clients though that I just see them once a month. It just really depends. But I do things like I go to client meetings with their attorneys or their CPA. I've helped a client move from Atlanta to Florida and traveled with her to Florida a couple of times to help her get pick her place and get settled and get moved in. Now she's since moved back after 10 years. So I helped her move back here, and I was very involved with all of that. It's kind of like I'm like a personal financial assistant sometimes, you know, with people. So
No, I love that. And it's another person. We talk a lot about building a team.
Yes,
It's another team member.
yes,
And we need all of the support and all of the team members we can get. Okay.
yes. Oh,
Our
and
time.
can I just say too with
Absolutely.
that, I love working with a team. So I have clients where like I'm the daily money manager, and then you've got like a financial advisor or a wealth manager, then you've got like an attorney, and we've got like a care manager. So we've got somebody that's like a companion. So I like that because then again, it helps me to be accountable to other people. They know what I'm doing and we kind of all know what's going on. And yeah, I like that.
No, I think that is definitely important as you support your aging loved ones. So tell people how they can contact you and reach you if they are interested they think they might need you, or some of them may definitely need you already. How can they get in touch with you? What areas do you serve?
Okay, so we mostly work in like the North Metro Atlanta area, generally kind of north of I-20.
Okay.
We're mostly in like East Cobb, North Fulton, Gwinnett County. My office is in Gwinnett County, DeKalb County. I do have clients up in the Cumming area, and then I've had clients up in Cherokee County as well, like Woodstock and Canton. So that's kind of generally the area that we mostly serve. I would say go to my website. Everything is on my website, www.yourseniorpartners.com. So Your Senior Partners LLC is the business name, and I do business as Senior Partners. But on my website, like I said, there's testimonials and some references. There's a blog on there. There's frequently asked questions, and then you can also sign up for a free 15-minute phone consultation with me as well. And then you can also sign up for my newsletter. So I do a monthly newsletter. So that's a good way to stay connected with me. And then I don't inundate people with a whole bunch of emails. Just once a month, we try to put out some information and fun stuff through that. So www.yourseniorpartners.com.
I love that. And so for those of you that are in her service area and you need help, please reach out. Now, for those of us who are not in your service area, do you have any advice on how to find a daily money manager in our area?
Yes. So I would recommend going to the ADAM website. So we call it ADAM, which is the acronym for the American Association of Daily Money Managers. So AADMM.com. So that's the organization I told you about that I was heavily involved in. When you go on there, there's a tab that says Find a DMM, and you can click on that tab and you can actually put in your zip code or your state, and it'll pull up any daily money managers in that area. So that would be a way to find a daily money manager anywhere in the country.
Perfect. That is perfect. Okay, we have to get out of here because it's time. Is there anything you want to leave with our listeners before we go?
No, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to again share the information, because again, so many people have no idea that what I do is a thing. And I meet people so many times that will say, "Oh, I wish I knew about you 2 years ago when
Yes.
I was doing X, Y, and Z with my mother or my stepmother or my father-in-law or whatever." So I just thank you so much for the opportunity to just share the information and get just to help educate people.
No, we love working with people and having people who have a heart for service of seniors as we do. So thank you so much for coming on.
You're
Um,
welcome.
and Miss Barbara Scurry's information will also be in the show notes. So if you didn't get her website, we will definitely have it there so that you can reach out to her if you have a aging family member that may be able to benefit from the services that she provides. As always, we love to hear feedback. So tell us what you thought about this episode. If you thought of another episode that you would want to hear about, we want to know who you want to hear from next, what people we can get on that's really going to help you in caring for your aging loved ones. You can always reach us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, SR Law Group. And until next time, bye, guys.
Bye.